So yes, Kendrick did not disappoint. You either loved the halftime show or you didn't like it at all. Take a look at what people thought about it.
Oh my gosh, Kendrick, I know that Canadian man's finna get his lawyers on the phone. If he ain't got them lawyers on the phone, he finna call him right now. Shut it down. Shut the whole stage down. Kendrick, what have you gotten yourself into?
Performance was so symbolic, and then not explaining the symbolism is why the symbolism in his Super Bowl performance is so impactful. So let's break this down. First, Uncle Sam is Samuel Jackson in this show. Throughout the course of the show, he either praises Kendrick for how he behaves or he scolds Kendrick on how he is not behaving properly. And at one point, he actually says, gamekeeper, deduct one life. And that is a symbol of how Black people are specifically treated in this country, where if you don't behave properly by code switching or being palatable, then you're going to be chastised in the United States as a Black person. But then we get introduced to the dancers. The dancers are all in sweatsuits, and the sweatsuits at one point becomes a configuration of the American flag. And during that part, he is actually in the middle of those dancers as he's performing. Even though the colors come together to form the American flag, it's actually the sweatsuits which stuck out to me the most. And someone else pointed this out, I'll tag her, and she said that the sweatsuits were very similar to those in Squid Games. And if you remember in Squid Games, the game players are wearing sweatsuits depending on their status in the game. But everyone essentially was playing towards the big pot of money at the end, and they were willing to fight each other to win said money. And as more people started to die throughout Squid Games, there was more money available for the winners at the end of the game. Now, Squid Games is actually a symbolism of capitalism and how when people at the bottom specifically continue to fight each other in the hopes of winning the money or the pot of gold at the end of said game, that no one actually wins. So in my opinion, him dancing in between the American flag is, yes, a symbolism of how the country is divided, but because all the colors are kind of mixed in together, it just shows that people of different socioeconomic statuses are still divided regardless of their political party. But then we get to the stage configuration, and that turns out to be a game controller. And who is the controller? The United States. But during one of the songs, the camera is in the middle and he is dancing at each different part of the X. And to me, that was a symbol that each specific group or demographic, so you could think of maybe races or ethnicity, are in their communities but only focus on each other, and every now and again we'll look to see what the other is doing, but no one's actually working together. And then at the end of the performance, he performs Not Like Us, which he has been advised by other major A-list celebrities to not perform this song. Why? Because the Super Bowl is not supposed to be a political type of stunt for the United States. It's strictly for the purpose of entertainment, right? Because in the United States, when you're under capitalism, the way to keep people distracted essentially is by entertaining them through forms of TV, through music, through movies, all of these things. So at the end, when he's like, oh, am I gonna do it? I'm gonna do it. And then he ends up performing the song. Everyone's like, oh, he's dissing Drake again. Girl, this is more than just Drake, okay? Wake up. And then you see Serena Williams coming out doing a crip walk. And if you remember, Serena was fined and scolded publicly for doing this at one of her tennis matches, even after she won. And her having a moment on this stage, and also Kendrick saying the revolution will be televised and you picked the right time but the wrong guy, is really a symbol of people, specifically people of influence, which he refers to in his speech at one point. People of influence speaking and talking and acting in accordance to their values, regardless of what the entertainment industry or the bigger higher ups or want them to do. And then we get to the very end when he says, turn this TV off, multiple times. Why? Because again, the Super Bowl is one of the most televised events and the most watched events throughout the entire year, which is a distraction for most Americans who are at the bottom of the totem pole that are really just trying to distract themselves from what they have to do in their everyday lives, which is go to work and work for pennies and, fight each other for just a simple raise. So all together now, game over at the very end of the Super Bowl performance is a symbol of people actually coming together to not only start, but withhold and run a revolution. So as a summary here, the reason why everyone needs to know this is because the revolution cannot happen if everyone does not know about it and participate and stick to their guns throughout the course of said revolution. Thank you and good night.
Winning 5 Grammys and having the most boring halftime show ever. Well, Kendrick Lamar just did it. This is how people reacted in person. That's bad. I'm sorry, but there was just no juice in that entire arena. And watching it from home, I kind of felt like, okay, you keep talking about Drake, you keep alluding to Drake, fine, we get it. All you got in your mouth is Drake. Like, there has to be some other substance besides riding Drake. I'm sorry.
So look, you seen what they said, right? This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that it was very symbolic, right? But it was also petty, because I'm going to tell you one thing. What you got to think about is you'll never see the others on there going back and forth at a Super Bowl halftime event. It was building one man up and tearing another man down. That's all I'm gonna say. Then he had Drake's ex-girlfriends was actually SZA and Serena at the halftime show. That was diabolical. What do y'all think? Do y'all think this was a good halftime show? Did y'all like it? Did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? And if you didn't, tell me why.